Hello, everybody. Sorry for the bad voiceover on this one. The audio didn't take, but this is going to be going over Act 2 boss, the bronze automaton, using the Ironclad. So, things to know about this fight. He spawns ads to begin with. You got to be aware of that. Looking over at my individual relics here, I have 2 energy to start with, courtesy of the T set. I have the ink bottle, which allows me an extra card. One of the best relics you can get, the Frozen Eye, which allows me to see my deck. And then ultimately I have another very powerful one called the Brimstone, which allows me to stack my health, or not my health, my strength, every single turn. Against him, it can be a little bit dangerous because there's a lot of attacks coming, and if you're not careful and you can't finish him soon, you end up running the risk of him outpacing your strength with his own buffs. His attack patterns are pretty predictable, so we are able to sort of plan ahead with our Frozen Eye to try and block when they need to block and attack when we need to block. See, I have a regen potion. I also have a fairy in a bottle, so I have safety nets. The regen, it's important to remember that it's 15 health total. You want to play it at a good time so you're not wasting any of that health. Deck-wise, this is heavy on the strike deck, so this is to play into that Brimstone. I have a number of the dual strikes, and then I have a Perfected Strike as well, which plays off of those dual strikes as well. The Immolate card I do play every now and then, but I generally skip it because it costs 2 and it adds a burn. I always go for the favor of the Twin Strike instead. I also have very few blocking cards, so I don't do a lot of defense. And then I also focus on vulnerability as well with the I forgot what it's called already, but I focus on the vulnerability, and it takes a couple to get him down because he starts with 3 artifacts. So opening up on this first turn, I have Pommel Strike, so I'm going to get 2 extra cards, and I have extra energy to start with. So the first turn, just pound away since it's a free turn. Basically pour everything you have on him, and that's simple enough. For the second turn, you then have to determine what you're going to do with his ads. And in my opinion, the best way to approach this guy would be to focus fire one of the ads first, while also maintaining attention on him as well, and then hit the other one as you go along. You don't want to have 2 of them out there the entire fight, but you also want to keep fighting him as well. So for me, it's a matter of Thunderclap is going to put vulnerability on the little guy, and then I'm going to be able to kill him outright with my Perfected Strike. Now, do you have to kill him on the very first turn? No, that's a rare thing that I'm able to do here because Perfected Strike is so high damage dealing. Very few decks are going to have that kind of a deck potency right out of the gate. So this is just a bonus on my part, and then throw the rest of the damage on the main. So his attack pattern, like I said, is very predictable. He's basically going to go attack, buff, and then mega attack. And then that's essentially, if you can't take him down by that point, you're in for a world of hurt and generally a loss for a lot of people. So the little ad, part of the reason you don't want to keep both of those out there is he took one of my cards. Fortunately, he took a card that I didn't care too much about. If you had took one of my Perfected Strikes, that would have been bad news for me. So because he's not attacking, generally you could go all out attack on this one, but because I have a free card draw here, the play here is to ultimately look to see what's coming up to focus on what my next turn's draw is going to be. So if I play the card draw, I'm going to pull 3 cards from this, and then looking at the next one, we're going to get Bash Strike, Thunderclap, and 2 defends on the next turn. So it ultimately comes down to how do you want your cards to be fed to you, and what's a good way to approach it. So what I ultimately go with here is I go with the Ethereal blocking, because I do need to play that pretty much every time that comes up, just to make sure that doesn't get exhausted. It's a nice card. It's good defense for a moderate cost, but you do have to play it or else you lose it. So that's essentially what I'm going over here is the pros and cons of spending that card to ultimately get 3 more cards versus just 3 straight attacks. Um, so I was originally planning on doing this in a manner that was going to coincide with the ink bottle, but I ended up playing essentially out of order anyways, and I wasn't going to get any additional cards because of it. So I just play the ethereal armor, and then I just pour some damage on them and let it go. Because I'm going to block his 10 damage. It's going to be a net 0 for the turn. So he buffs himself. You can see his attack is actually on pace with my own at this point. And then the ad buffs his attack as well. So that's why we have to focus on him as well. I decided not to put a ton of extra damage on that extra ad because I need to maintain focus on the main, because he is going to come at with a high powerful attack before too long. So we do the thunderclap to do AoE to catch the other guy. And then it takes 1 artifact away from him. And then it's just 2 turns of blocking, I believe. This is just to prevent a little bit more bleeding. I could have killed the ad outright, but it's better to absorb a little bit of this damage than to try and focus on killing him, because I do have AoEs. I know that ad is not going to be a problem, but what will be a problem is if I can't kill this guy fast enough. Alright, so Thunderclap is back up again. It's not going to put vulnerable on him because it just burned through his last artifact, but now the ad is pretty much done with, and I'll be able to start putting some extra damage on him. Now I put the extra damage here instead of attacking because I'm running out of turns here. So I need to take him out, and 12 damage in the scope of things was not going to be a problem versus what he would have if I didn't put that extra damage on him there. Because now he's got 57 coming at me. I have to block or I can't take it. So I'm forced to play a defend here. Either that or die and use my potion and my fairy in the bottle. So since I can't kill him outright, definitely can't, what I'm contemplating here is I'm doing the math with Bash and Twin Strike to see if it would have killed him. He's obviously got 124 with his block. You're not killing him in 2 cards with that, no matter what the 2 cards are. So ultimately what I decide here is that we put the block on, so to soak his damage, kill the ad, and then just move on to the next turn. But basically this is the last big hit turn you're going to get. After this, it's a death. So this is just a little bit of foresight into the next turn to see what's actually going to come up. And ultimately the next turn is just some basic attack stuff. There's nothing really great in there, and if you look close enough, the Perfected Strike is way far down, and even Thunderclap is 2 turns away. And that's what I was concerned about with this. When I first went through this, I had forgotten for a second what happens after this turn. So he's going to do his Laser Beam, but I'm actually going to get a free turn out of it. So there's actually, it looks worse than it is, the fact that I only have now 6 health, but he's going to be stunned and I get a free play out of it. So it's actually no big deal. And because I have the AoE here, the ad goes down too. Neither of them is a problem. And now I can just pound him down with the last little bit of damage, and it's over. Because he's vulnerable because of the Thunderclap, and so I just knock away. I don't remember exactly what I was talking about. I think I was concerned about what was going to happen, but I wasn't even paying attention to the stars. But he's basically dead. Because then Twin Strike comes up again, and adios. So the escalation of this is a little bit more severe than it normally would be because of my Brimstone. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave those below. Otherwise, we will see you again soon.
Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.